listening to Real Coaching Radio TV, building a positive network.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Kids Talk Foundation, a global nonprofit organization providing youth advocacy, television programming, and training services in the United States, along with comprehensive medical and educational services for the developing world, most recently in Kenya, Africa, where Kids Talk Foundation provides a feeding program, medical care, and educational services to over 1,300 young people each day. Please help our youth and place your donation. Go to www.kidstalk.org. Are you in the entertainment industry? If you answered yes and you want to promote yourself, your passion, and profession, check out Creative Independent Artist magazines at CIAartists.com, endorsed by Kids Talk Foundation worldwide.
Welcome to Unopened Gifts, the weekly one-hour program dedicated to understanding the human potential that lies within us and the abundant life that lies before us. Inspired by the personal journey of our host, James McPartland.
Well, they say that good things come to those who wait, and thank all of you for waiting to tune into this Thursday afternoon edition of Unopened Gifts. I am your host, James McPartland, and I'm most grateful for you bearing with us as we work through some technical difficulties. But as we like to do each Thursday afternoon, is we like to bring you an exciting and inspiring guest who has found a way through the unique circumstances in their life to open up their gifts. And today's show will not disappoint you. For those of you with us for the first time, you'll learn a lot about yourself and be given some tools that perhaps we believe can be applied right after the program. For those of you who have come back and want to take a look at what we have to offer today, I think we're going to add a few more tools to your toolbox. So I have the president of Boaz Power, if I'm not mistaken, if that's how you might say it. We certainly could have used some of his power, technically speaking, here not too long ago. Boaz Rushwerger joins us from, I believe, the Los Angeles area today, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right, Boaz?
Hello, Jim. Actually, I am about to do a presentation tomorrow in the southwestern part of Pennsylvania, and so I am at a beautiful resort called Nemacolin on the north end of the border between West Virginia and Pennsylvania.
Well, you know, that was going to be my next guess. You were showing me the brochure. It looked like it was Southern California. That's how magical it is. Now, Boaz is I guess you'd say he's become Americanized, so to speak. He joined us from the great country of Israel when he was the age of 9. Spoke no English at the time. I think you'll find that he speaks quite a bit of English and gets paid highly to do that. He's done a number of things in his illustrious career, from starting a newspaper to being a newscaster, has worked as a speaker and a trainer for companies like Xerox and American Airlines, and now goes around the world helping condition people on how they look at the great game of life to get more out of life and to have, let's just say, some greater and more fulfilling outcomes. Boaz, welcome to the program, my friend.
Thank you, Jim. I'm delighted to be here. It's my honor.
Well, you know, Boaz, it's a testament to the great human being that you are, because this is our second attempt to have you on the program. Both times I have been technically challenged, and certainly now most people have learned that I wasn't raised and taught in IT services, nor am I necessarily any threat to any high-tech companies starting up in the Bay Area. But you have, this will be worth the wait for everybody. What I find very interesting about Boaz is his unique energetic approach and philosophy to the game of life, and he quite casually, I'll share this with the listeners and the viewers, as he talked about his life and lessons learned from his mother and ways to engage people and enroll people in conversation and perhaps some great questions to ask and to answer. As I shared with Boaz some of the genesis of this program of helping people recognize the gifts they have by having a chance to view the gifts of others, Boaz just casually mentioned that it was only, not once, not twice, but 3 times he had knocked on death's door, or the door had been knocked on for him. And so here's a man who's learned that attitude and gratitude is most special in the game of life. So Boaz, fill in some gaps for us. Tell us a little bit more of the Boaz story.
Well, Jim, my mother was from Poland and my father from Austria, and they both left their native countries in 1935 to go to Palestine as pioneers to help build a new Jewish homeland. I'm a little amazed, Jim, as to what people call a problem these days. Some people relate they lost money in the stock market and real estate and so forth, and I'm not immune. But let's define what a real problem is. My mother lost 4 brothers and sisters and her parents in the Holocaust. That I would consider a problem. losing money in my real estate, I would label an inconvenience. Because, Jim, I tell my audiences that we forget where we are. We're in the United States of America. I don't care what the newscasters say, and I used to be one. I apologize. They tell us all day that the sky is falling. Well, to me, this always has been, always will be the greatest country in the world. I think there are more opportunities now than ever before. And did we forget where we are? So, mother became a top accountant for the medical system in Israel. My father was a carpenter and a builder. He built some of the original block homes in the desert of Israel when he carried a shovel in one hand and a rifle in the other. So I really have two careers. One, I'm a professional speaker, and two, I'm also a carpenter and a builder. So I'm just as comfortable framing a house, Jim, as I am framing somebody's future. And so two of my uncles came to America in the late 30s. The third one ends up at a concentration camp in Germany. Once again, that would be considered a problem. So in 1941, my Uncle Ziggy in New York came up with $500. I'm told that was a lot of money at that time in bribe money. He paid it to somebody in Switzerland and bought my Uncle David's life out of a concentration camp. Now that is solving a problem. And people in America get bent out of shape would have an ingrown toenail. Did I tell you, Jim, my life is over as I know it, my toenail is hurting? Oh, please. So we kept getting letters from America. My uncle said, come to America because the streets are paved with gold. And Jim, they still are. I checked on the drive this afternoon from Pittsburgh to Nemacolin. They're still paved with gold, more so now than ever, because some people think they're tarnished. So we immigrated to America in 1956. The uncle who sponsored us to become citizens has now moved from New York to Oklahoma. Can you imagine that, Jim? Israel to Oklahoma. Culture shock. And I didn't speak a word of English, as you said. I learned how to speak English by watching The Lone Ranger on television. So for a while I thought everyone's name was Kemosabe. But the only thing I knew about the western part of the U.S. as a 9-year-old in Israel, the John Wayne movies I saw over there with the Hebrew subtitles, he'd come over a hill, see a bunch of Indians, and say, Oy vey, pilgrim. So I thought we'd live among the cowboys and Indians. But anyway, I lived in Oklahoma for many years, learned how to speak English, became a newscaster, got fired from my first job because I had a German accent at the time, went to work with my high school speech teacher, got over that, went back into radio, and eventually worked in television production. Came to California in 1985. I live in the Los Angeles area. And so I've been an author, a newspaper publisher. I've run a couple of companies. But the thing I like the most is sharing ideas with people that can change your lives for the better forever.
Well, you know, and your journey probably reinforces your, the pedigree you have, the platform you have, or the reason for people to have a compelling understanding of why it makes sense to listen. And that's an art in and of itself. And you know, as you describe the journey, just what you described, other than what we've talked about prior, is it would seem to me it's almost as if, you know, we are all-terrain vehicles trying to navigate the earth in this forever potholes or pirates or things meant to disable that vehicle or prevent that vehicle from moving on. Often those pirates or let's just say potholes are ones we imagine are coming. For me, and what I hear from you is, you know, you have just learned how to weave around, or life, perhaps a definition of life is learning how to weave around the obstacles or get comfortable around them because they're never going to go away, and that's just part of the game of life. Could you speak a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Jim, I don't know of a word in my native language of Hebrew that equates to the word can't. Maybe I choose not to, but I do not recall a word like that. I don't understand what people are saying when they say, I can't do that. The only way I see someone who really can't do something, if someone is in prison, I can understand. They cannot leave. Or God forbid if someone has a terminal illness or whatever. But the rest of us are walking around. So it's not like we're shackled to a post in the corner of the room and then we can't. So I do not know the word can't, and when obstacles arise, we just find a way to get around them, through them, underneath, whatever it takes. And so when I lost that first job in radio in Oklahoma, I was a high school senior. Can you imagine that, Jim? I'm on the top rock and roll radio station in the evening. Everybody knows me at school, and the next day I'm fired. I'm fired. So what do? Well, you go do something about it. So I went to work with my high school speech teacher, and in 6 months I got rid of the accent I had, and I learned how to read well on the air, and I went back to work at another radio station. So I've had many challenges throughout my life, but I just don't allow myself to use the word can't. It just doesn't work with me.
Well, you know, one of the words that does seem to work with you or would seem to be part of your vernacular, no matter what language you're speaking, is gratitude. Or you have an inherent ability to not only see opportunities, but to appreciate things around you. And while we were waiting for the studio to get booted up here, you, with a big smiling face, were showing me the photograph of where you are, which means that, you know, a lot of people can look at this, oh man, another hotel, and I'm traveling again, and who am I speaking to tomorrow? Is you had this blissful look about you as, wow, look at this great place I get to address people in. And that's a mindset, right? That's a choice. You talk a little bit about gratitude?
Yep. But let me show everybody the picture I showed you, because we got to set some goals here, Jim. And for everybody out there, you got to come to Nemacolin. They don't pay me to tell you this, but take a look at this. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? Built in 1968 by the Rockwell Corporation for their executives, and eventually purchased by a family that has taken care of this beautiful property ever since. This is probably my 4th or 5th visit to this location, Jim, in southwestern Pennsylvania in the last 10 years. I am forever grateful that I get to do what I do. It was in 1956 when we learned that really embedded a lesson in my life. My father got the first visa to come to America. They didn't come in batches necessarily, Jim, so if one came, you better take advantage or it may not come again. My sister, may she rest in peace, she passed away a few years ago, but she was 9 years older than I was, so she was serving in the Israeli army. So in 1956 November comes the time when my mother, my brother, and I are to leave for America. So we're to board a ship in the port of Haifa in Israel, cross the Mediterranean, cross France, and take a ship to America to come to the New World. It was like going to the New World. People there would give their eye teeth to come here, and people still around the world would do that. I don't care what the news media says. And so the very day that we board the ship in Haifa to cross the Mediterranean in November of 1956 is the day that war breaks out with Egypt. And the Egyptians threaten to bomb our ship. How's that for a little cruise out of Miami? So again, I come from a culture where you don't let people see you sweat, because if you do, you might as well give up emotionally or physically. So the captain simply waited till midnight, turned off all the lights, turned the motors down low, and we took off across the darkness, because a ship is meant to sail, as you and I and everybody listening and watching are meant to succeed. And in the morning we saw the islands of Greece, and we knew we were alive. And that's how you do this. So instead of sitting there and thinking about things forever, take action. So I gave an affirmation to a group this morning in a seminar I did in Pittsburgh that everyone on this call may want to write down. I think the greatest problem with people moving ahead is they don't take action quick enough, or they take action on things that aren't that productive. So here's an affirmation the group this morning really liked. I always do the most valuable thing first and quickly. I always do the most valuable thing first and quickly. Because, Jim, too many times we have a choice between two things. One may be tension relieving, but the other is goal achieving. One is tension relieving, the other is goal achieving. And if we simply focus a little more on the items that are goal achieving, I think life would be much more successful and happier and more productive.
So tell me, boys, do you see this phenomenon about perhaps how we get in our own way? And I often believe, and certainly it's been my own experience, that whatever story I'm telling myself is what's either going to propel me forward or is going to keep me seated or somewhere in a reclining position based on how I choose to interpret the world. And I don't know that that's necessarily a North American or Western or European perspective, as my ancestors are European, but it seems to me that we worry about things that never come to be, or would like to change things that were and have them be something else, and perhaps often say to ourselves, I don't know if I can do that, therefore let's just read the National Enquirer, or let's compare ourselves to other people. Maybe like a bucket of crabs, we can hold some other folks down. Now that's a generalization, certainly has been my own experience, when I recognized that I was the one standing in my own way. I didn't need a mirror to tell me that. Is there a commonality that you see amongst the folks you spend time with?
Absolutely. As Zig Ziglar once said, most of us need a checkup from the neck up. It is not the economy, it's not the weather, it's not the government, it's not anybody else. It's us. It's us. So years ago when I started attending seminars by some of the biggest speakers in the world, Jim, all these people look good, sound good, probably smell good, got the audience all revved up. But I noticed certain things. The people who were reading positive books were reading too many of them and not internalizing any of them. The people who had lots of excuses were selling themselves on the fact that they couldn't do anything. So, I did some things that were a little different. I decided to focus on 2 specific books, and I don't make a penny when anybody out there buys either one, so I feel really good about pushing them. You know both of these, Jim. One is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, and the other one, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Now, both of these were written in 1935, both still totally applicable today. Think and Grow Rich, the bottom line of that book goes to directly what you were saying a moment ago, Jim. Everybody on the call, by the way, should be taking notes. Don't ever watch a call like this without taking notes. You're going to get 5 times as much when you take notes, and I just might say something that could be valuable. So
Maybe.
here's the yeah, maybe, just by chance. Okay, here's the bottom line of the book, Think and Grow Rich, and I think it answers your question, Jim. He said, Napoleon Hill said, by the way, this book has made more millionaires than any other book in history. You would think that people might want to read it. Now, I know the money is not the answer to everything, but listen, you could be miserable in a better part of town, okay? So just work with me for a minute. So the bottom line of Think and Grow Rich, Jim, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. And so, at the beginning of this year, Jim, 2013, I decided not to watch radio or television news. I used to be a newscaster. That's not helping me. I decided not to read the paper on a regular basis. That's not helping me. There were 2 classes offered in life on January 1, 2013 for me. One was Recession 101. And then there was another class, Jim, called Prosperity 101. You know what, Jim? I signed up for Prosperity 101 twice. And I'm having the biggest year of my career in 2013. If there's a recession or a depression, I've chosen not to participate. I am a free person, as everybody else is on this call too. So anybody who may be struggling this year, first thing we've got to do is change your mindset, as Jim was saying, and you could have a fabulous end of the year. You've got 3 months to turn this year around if it's not the best year you've ever had. And the first thing to do is to write an affirmation that says, I'm having the biggest year of my career. But I know, Jim, what some people are out there saying, but Boaz, that's not my reality. But is it what you'd like to have? You see, the subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between something real and something we pretend. So I write affirmations of what I want to happen and keep declaring them the first thing every morning and the last thing every night so that I can program my brain, because that's the only thing I have total control over. Jim, do you realize that? That's the only thing all of us have total control over. I can't control the weather or the government, but I can control my mind and what I think. And I choose to put in positive, powerful thoughts into my mind every morning and every evening to make sure I move forward, and that's what's happening.
So this is really the hallmark of what we try to do with this program, Boaz. And let me ask you, so we have a number of people that tune in live, they watch the program, they're listening, and what I intend to bring to people is an opportunity to get a tool, to learn something, to hear something, to capture something from, in this particular case, you, Boaz, so that respectfully people can say, well, wait a second, if he can, maybe I can, given what he's overcome, and we're going to learn more about some of those things that you've overcome. But I also believe that there is a fairly large pool of people, and perhaps some days larger than others, that may say, yeah, I've heard all this stuff before. And, I've seen the books, it's on my bookshelf, and it may work for others, but, if you had it the way I had it. And how is it that people can make that connection between, how is it, you use the word, I think it was brilliant, how does one internalize the gifts of your knowledge that you shared, the brilliant books that you pointed out, and to apply it instantaneously, if you will, if in fact we can control our brain and our thoughts and make a choice?
Absolutely. Okay, here are the lessons. All right, number 1 step, as I said, get these 2 books. Just trust me on this. Get these 2 books. But don't read 3 chapters and put them down. It's more productive to read 1 page a day, and then when you get through, read them over again. So the problem with the people who read those kinds of books, Jim, when I saw this beginning in the early 80s, they were reading too many books and not internalizing any of them. might as well not read a single book if you're going to read one time each book. That goes in one ear and out the other. That could even make you narrow-minded. A friend of mine, so narrow-minded, his ears touched. So, may I suggest whether it's these 2 books or 1 or 2 others, pick 1 or 2 and read them at least 10 times over. So in order to become a world expert on those 2 books, I didn't read them once, I didn't read them 10 times over, Jim. I read them once a month, every month, for 5 years. I read those 2 books 60 times each. You can open up any page, start reading a paragraph, chances I'll be able to tell you what's in the paragraph. Not necessarily because I'm brilliant, although my mother would say I am, because I've been there 60 times. So the first step is choose 1 or 2 books and read them continuously for the next 5 years so they become a part of you, because repetition is the mother of skill. You see, Jim, I found that if you listen to audio CDs, and I have some good ones myself, that is somebody else motivating you. But reading is you talking to you. That is very profound. So the first lesson is get 1 or 2 books and read them over and over and over and over. Secondly, we have to be careful who we are around, who we spend time with, because everybody in our life is part of 1 or 2 unions, either the building crew or the wrecking crew. Either the building crew or the wrecking crew. And I got to tell you, Jim, I am allergic to people who are part of the wrecking crew. So I limit my exposure. I get around people who are positive, who are uplifting, who are encouraging. And if you don't have somebody like that in your life, then I tell you what, I believe you do have somebody. Look in the mirror. You be the somebody who encourages you. So getting the books, watching out who we are around, and then writing some positive affirmations that you declare first thing every morning and the last thing every night. I'll give you part of my affirmations. Oh, here's a line that is just profound. Everybody watching and listening should be writing this down. Part of my affirmation every morning is, everything I touch prospers and succeeds. Everything I touch prospers and succeeds. So I read positive affirmations every morning. I don't watch radio or television news in the morning. I do not read the paper. I put on some upbeat music or get a CD by a famous speaker, Robert Schuller, Zig Ziglar, Boaz Rauschberger. What you do the first 15 minutes of the day will set your mood for the whole day. So I created a success formula, which ironically, Jim, everybody can go to my website after this call and download it free. Did I say free? I believe I did. Okay, it's called the Tiberius Success Formula, named after the city where I lived on the shore of the Sea of Galilee. And there are 6 steps in there. First one is positive affirmations. Number 2, listening to something upbeat for every morning. Reading in the 2 books every morning. Number 4 step is exercising regularly. 5, save some money every day. And then number 6, identify an exciting next reward. And that we will talk about at great length in a few minutes. So go to my website after this call, boazpower.com, B-O-A-Z, power like the power company.com, and you may even want to sign up for my free weekly newsletter. It goes all over the world. I'm in my 11th year of writing this. I'll be happy to uplift you every Monday morning free for a couple of minutes. So it's what you do first thing in the morning, and people can start doing that immediately, Jim, and they will see a difference, not in a minute or 2, not necessarily in a day or 2, but I guarantee you, you do this every day for a week, affirmations morning and evening, you'll see the difference, and within 30 to 60 days, you'll see amazing, amazing differences in your own attitude.
Well, you know, and it reminds me, boys, and really one of the messages there is the consistent thoughts, the deliberate approach, and that this, in my words, not yours, takes work to recondition how we look at the game of life, to recondition that, let's say, that thought muscle, to then replace the disempowering thoughts or beliefs with the new ones and have those embedded and have them grow by virtue of the repetitive nature that you've described. And I think what is also important is there is no quick fix. One paragraph, one book, overnight, put it on the shelf is not going to change us. It is reconditioning, much like exercise would be. It's not, okay, I worked out for this quarter, I'm good, or I worked out for 2012, I'm done. And it's working out consistently. Then it's also changing the approach because the body adapts. So how do you come at it from a different angle? Upload your newsletter, take advantage of some free information that comes on your website, continue to stimulate yourself from other angles. Is that fair?
Absolutely, absolutely. But it is also my feeling, you're right, Jim, it takes work to do this, but it is my feeling that it also takes a lot of energy to fight not having enough money. It also takes a lot of energy to have relationships that are not as good. It also takes a lot of energy to be worried about things. So that also takes a lot of work. We're already putting work, but in the wrong direction. You know, if I sit around worrying all day, I'm working at worrying. I'm really working at it. I'm spending time at it, I'm giving energy to it, and it's sucking the life out of me. So yes, this other direction takes some work, but all we're going to do is substitute some of the things that we're doing that are not productive into some of the things that are productive. And I've got to tell you, a few years ago, Jim, I lost a fortune in real estate. I was at the wrong time in the wrong place in history. I would have impressed all of you with my real estate holdings around 2007. Oh, I had condos all over the country. Chicago, Lakeshore Drive, Scottsdale, Beverly Hills. Come on, people haven't lost money in all those places in decades. I found ways to lose in all three of them, okay? We were wagering. It would have been easier for me to go to Las Vegas and put about $250,000 on 7 Black. But I lost all of that, and I literally had to start all over again. So what did I do, Jim? I started reading that affirmation. Everything I touch prospers and succeeds. And that was a moment when everything I was touching was crumbling and disintegrating. But is that what I wanted? No. I wanted everything I touched to prosper and succeed. And now, in 2012, I am coming back like a house on fire, found a much more productive way and much more careful way to invest in real estate. And what I'm doing now will be bigger and better than I ever did before. And it's simply because I started to say the things I wanted at the moment when they weren't true. They were not true. Because some people are saying, Jim, I know, well, Boaz, I can't say things that are not true. Well, excuse me, are we wanting to move forward or moving backwards? I think we got to break your rear view mirror. Everybody on this call, write down, I'm a car with no rear view mirror. I'm a car with no rear view mirror. Break that emotional rear view mirror and let's move forward. So I've come back in the last 5 years by way of simply forcing my thoughts forward rather than backwards. Jim, I used to send invitations to my own pity parties. Nobody came. I finally got bored with me, so I stopped having them, okay?
Got it.
Now I focus on what I can do rather than what I can't.
Well, you know what I think was of the many brilliant things you've articulated, Boaz, and I think, you know, if we all think in pictures, one of my takeaways of many that I've been taking notes on here is, you know, call it return on energy. That probably the lack of recognition for most of us that the debilitating thoughts, the disempowering feelings, the blues, the mental energy expended, which is far more taxing than, in my perspective, physical energy of running a marathon, of what's not going right, what's wrong, the difficulties financially or with relationships, which we actually feed the fire by reinforcing those thoughts. What I got from you is, hang on a second, if you reallocate that energy, perhaps the same base of energy, into this approach of reading the positive materials, repetition nature of it, going back through it, saying the things, having the meetings with yourself and reorchestrating sort of the language, probably with less energy, the return becomes that much greater on the positive benefits and outcome. Is that a good way to sort of summarize what part of your points?
It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. All of us, Jim, including you and me, we're all doing affirmations all day long. I can't get that promotion. Nobody is listening to me. I can't get out of debt. I cannot get ahead with money. Nobody likes me. Those are all great affirmations in the wrong direction. In the wrong direction. It's like a fellow goes the wrong way on a one-way street. Somebody says you're going the wrong way. He said, anyway. So what I'm saying is we're already all doing this. I want to just turn around and, like you say, redirect that energy. So let me give everybody an idea about how to turn your thoughts around about money right now. Right now. Immaterial to me if you're heavily in debt, and I've been there. Come on. I've been there when I maxed out all my credit cards. My high finance years ago was to pay my Visa bill with my MasterCard. Please, I have been there. Okay? All right? Lost a fortune. Now I'm coming back. Here's the way you change your attitude about money. By saying the affirmation, everything I touch prospers and succeeds. And then I teach people, Jim, to carry a $100 bill. To carry a $100 bill. So let me just show you. Every time I look in my wallet and I take out my $100 bill, I think about prosperity. I think about good times, and I feel good about myself. And so that makes a difference. Carry a $100 bill. And some people will say, well, Boaz, I can't put together a $100 bill today. Okay, what if we threaten to execute you by tomorrow at this hour if you don't show up with a $100 bill? Would you show up with one? Of course you would. So if you can, you should. Go sell something. Then I get people to put some 20s around the house, on the end table by the bed, on the counter of the bathroom, on the counter of the kitchen. If you have teenagers, tape it down real good. And then I get people to start saving $1 a day. $1 a day. Just put $1 in an envelope every day and say to yourself, I'm richer today than I was yesterday, but not as rich as I'll be tomorrow. I'm richer today than I was yesterday, but not as rich as I'll be tomorrow. And then that money is not for vacation or mad money, it's your permanent fortune fund. And when you have enough, open a savings account, go down to the bank and add to it every week. It's not the amount, it's the process. Even if it's $5 or $6, at least at the bank they'll think if you're stealing it, you're doing small amounts. So, surround yourself with money. Everybody please write down, whatever I focus on expands. Whatever I focus on, this goes directly to what we've been talking about, Jim. Whatever I focus on expands, and most people are focusing on lack of. I focus on prosperity. So everybody, watch this for a moment. Focus on this. This is prosperity to your mind. This is prosperity to your mind. Carry one of these immediately, if not sooner, and watch what it does to you every time you look at it.
And Boaz, this is just, really powerful stuff. I mean, I can feel the infernos growing to a raging fire of optimism and within people now, myself included, to think about the practicality of the steps and replacing some disempowering steps with these empowering steps and being deliberate about that in choice. Let me switch gears a little bit and talk about what could have easily prevented you from being on this broadcast, have been back on your quest to climb your version of Success Mountain, having decided to go back to base camp in the real estate business unintentionally. The fact that you have had a chance to have your wipe yourself out, you almost died 3 times. And I would think one time would be enough to scare people to, let's say, play not to lose as opposed to play to win. Twice might be, maybe I need to stay indoors. 3 times might be, all right, what's the message here? And no telling what that could have done. It easily could have had you go in a different direction than what I'm hearing from you today. Talk to me a little bit about what comes from that, what your experience was like, and how you transform that into a force for good.
Sure. First of all, it goes back to my attitude. The reason I didn't die those 3 times goes back to my attitude. So everybody on the call, please write down, attitude is everything. It's not a part of the thing, it's not a majority, it's everything. John D. Rockefeller, the founder of the family fortune, said, I'd much rather hire somebody with a great attitude than somebody who's got more degrees than a thermometer and has no clue. So, Jim, I asked lots of people in my audiences all over the world, one question: how's business? Meaning, how's life? How's everything? How's your company? How's everything? And most people give me the real lowdown. Well, Jim, it's just not the same since 9/11, and the weather, and the government, and the recession, and the depression. Is any of that what we really want? I don't think so. So everybody, please write down, if it's not what I want, I won't say it. If it's not what I want, I won't say it. Now, I won't get much better than that on this call. That's about as strong a secret to success, Jim, as I can share with anybody. So if it's not what you want, don't say it. So I learned attitude from my mother. Now remember, this is a lady who lost 4 brothers and sisters and her parents in the Holocaust, and yet she had the most positive attitude of anybody I've ever known. So I asked her one day, I said, Mom, come on, how can you have such a positive attitude? You have every right to hate everybody, including God. I mean, wouldn't you agree, Jim? Yeah, I'd have every right. But she didn't. She didn't hate anybody. And so I asked her, how could you have such a positive attitude? Her answer was profound. She said, son, if I don't have a good attitude, then they got me too, and they didn't shoot 1 bullet. How's that?
Wow.
So, the 3 times I almost died, my mother's attitude saved my life. The first time at the age of 20. I was at the University of Tulsa, majoring in journalism and advertising. I don't even know how I got in the middle of this, but I was negotiating to sell a cosmetic company in Missouri to some investors in the Caribbean, and we have a bunch of escrow money in a bank. I could end up being a rich college kid, Jim, and I have no clue what I'm doing, but us Jewish folks have something called chutzpah. So I stayed up too late one night negotiating on the deal, drove across the state of Missouri the next day, and I was too tired to drive. I loosened my seatbelt. I got very comfortable in a big car, and when I woke up, I was going 90 miles an hour down the center median of Interstate 70 between Kansas City and Columbia, Missouri. I hit the brakes, the wheels locked, The car swerved into lanes. Luckily, there was nobody there at the moment, or I would have killed them. The car then went off a hill, and now it's flipping end over end the long way, crashing down a hill. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to die. In about 5 seconds, I'm dead. The car crashed at the bottom of the hill. The door opened. I flew out with such velocity, landed about 50 yards away on an asphalt road, broke my pelvic bone, ruptured my spleen. Luckily, a warm December day that year, and because there was no snow on the ground, the truck driver up above saw the dust cloud I created by flipping the car, and he called an ambulance as he looked down. Wheeled into the emergency room at St. Joseph's Hospital in Boonville, Missouri. Attitude made all the difference. Even though I was feeling more pain than I ever knew existed, and they had serious problems with me, I was in shock. Broken bones, internal bleeding, yellow jaundice. They're not sure if I'm going to live through the hour, through the night. They can't do a darn thing till they see if I'm going to live. But that was my new job. I didn't like it, but that was my new job. Be a good patient, okay? So I was taking the Dale Carnegie course at the time, and Dale Carnegie taught me from the book How to Win Friends, to each of us the most important thing in life is our name. So I called everybody in the emergency room by their name and thanked them for taking good care of me. Dr. Jones, thank you very much. Nurse Smith, thank you very much. 2 weeks later, when they saw I was going to live, they did exploratory surgery and took my spleen, which ironically kept me from being sent to war in Vietnam the next year. That accident probably saved my life. So a nurse came to see me and said, my gosh, you scared us to death when they brought you in here. You were almost dead. But you were the most courteous, almost dead person we've ever seen. Just because he's dying, why should we have a bad day? 6 weeks later, Jim, I was back in college, good as new, attitude is everything. Second time, the age of 29, I walked into a hospital emergency room in Oklahoma and went into cardiac arrest with a heartbeat at 400 beats a minute, which is not good. They hit me with electricity at the right moment, saved my life, discovered a rare heart condition, and I had no heart damage whatsoever because I kept calm while all this was happening. My rare heart condition was cured in 1991 in open heart surgery in San Diego, the second day of operation, because the first day, the anesthesiologist accidentally cut my carotid artery. So I simply asked them the next day to operate a little more carefully. So for everybody on the call, please write down, it's not what happens, it's how we react. It's not what happens. Come on, Jim, everything. To all of us, rotten things happen, don't they? But it's how we react. So in the 3 times that I almost died, my reaction was calm, peaceful, and grateful just to be alive. 1 week after open heart surgery, I was back to work at my desk at home. It was a momentary inconvenience. That's all it was, nothing more.
All right, so let me, this is great fodder for all of us, and certainly, like I said, you are fanning the flames of opportunity for so many of us on the program today. And a good question would be, is for those of us fortunate enough to be able to get the juice from your message, where do you go when you need your juice box refilled? Where's the source of inspiration, energy from a sustainability standpoint? Do you continue to read those books? Are there others? Are there groups you're part of? How do you keep the momentum?
Okay, I continue to read those books. I focus on those 2. I'd much rather get really good at those 2 than read 50 books and not get good at any of them. And ironically, Jim, I don't really consider my work. I enjoy it immensely because I am genuinely interested in other people, which is the foundation of the Carnegie book. To be genuinely interested in other people. So I find great pleasure in learning from other people. Jim, if my mother met you, she would be so excited because she would figure you knew something she did not. So let me show you what gives me great pleasure, and that's to let other people talk and to learn about them. So there's one thing that people can walk away from this call, the following thing that could be worth literally a fortune to anybody listening. I believe that our entire future success is based on our ability to create great relationships. Would you agree, Jim?
Yes, I would.
And the first most important one is with ourselves, because if I don't like me, I can never like you. So my mother created great relationships, and I get great joy out of creating great relationships all over North America. So Mother did it in the following way. I'm taking for granted that everybody on this call is genuinely interested in other people. If you're not, don't even listen. You shouldn't even be listening here. So, Jim, my mother asked everybody the same 5 questions. And people loved her. People wanted to help her. People wanted to see her succeed. So if it's okay with you, Jim, I'm going to show everybody how well this worked and how much joy I get out of it by asking you my mother's 5 questions. Is that okay?
Please do.
Okay, this was a way for Mother to create great relationships in minutes, and it works like a charm. So everybody should be writing these down, and I'll give you the questions as I ask Jim. So ahead of question number 1, Mother's opening phrase, Jim, was to relax you. She would say, I'm just curious. I'm just curious, which is much nicer than saying, Jim, tell me your Social Security number and how much money do you make? So, Jim, I'm just curious, and here comes question number 1. Where are you from originally?
Well, boys, I'd like to tell you I'm from the field of all possibilities, but I'd actually have to tell you that I am from my mother, and my mother had this fine young man in Brooklyn, New York.
And so, Jim, where do you live now?
And a great question. With 2 young boys with music dancing in their eyes, I live in a little town called Coto de Caza, California.
So, Mother's opening phrase was, I'm just curious. Her first question, where are you from originally? Now, Jim, had you said you are originally from here, whether it's in California or in Brooklyn, Mother's second question would have been, have you lived here all your life? People move around a lot. However, in your case, you told me that you are now cross-country. So the second question becomes, what brought you to where you are?
Great question. And to reinforce your curiosity, what brought me across was my own curiosity and an affinity for blonde hair, surfboards, and California lifestyle.
And as you look back, was it a good move?
It was the best.
All right. Then I'll tell everybody in a moment why I knew that's a definite yes. So back to the questions. Opening phrase, I'm just curious. Question 1, where are you from originally? See, what we're doing, Jim, is we're learning your history. We're getting a picture of your history. Most people don't know what to do after hello. So, opening phrase, I'm just curious. Question 1, where are you from originally? Had you been from here, Jim, wherever you are? Question 2 would have been, have you lived here all your life? You were not, so question 2 became, what brought you here? Question number 3, you've already answered, but we'll have you answer again. Do you have a family?
Well, I have a family, and let me just tell you this, Boaz, our family just expanded, so I just want to let you know that the word has gotten out about your inspirational advice today. We've been joined by our good friends at Stickham, so there are several now, hundreds, if not more than that, students who have joined, and I say students respectfully because we're all learning and everybody's a teacher. So those of you who have joined from Stickham, welcome aboard. This is Unopened Gifts. I am honored to be speaking across the country with Boaz Roshwerger today, who is in the great state, Keystone State of Pennsylvania. We are learning a lot about his history, a lot about the game of life, a lot about the benefit of attitude, the right types of words that we use with ourselves and with others, and a great gift he's giving us, and that was a gift that his mother gave to him, and that gift of curiosity to enroll people in a conversation by asking them some questions. And we are 2 or 3 questions into the game. Welcome, Stickham. Boaz, back to you.
Okay, so again, this is the 5 questions that can create great relationships for you and help you move ahead and be more successful. And in a moment, I'll tell you why these are so valuable. So the opening phrase, I'm just curious. Question 1, where are you from originally? 2 is either have you lived here all your life or what brought you here? Question number 3 was, do you have a family? And specifically, I was asking, Jim, I believe you have 2 children, is that right?
That's correct.
And how old are they?
Well, they are 3 and 5.
Boys or girls?
They're boys.
All right, that was question 3. Now, Jim, this is not a police interrogation, so I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable. What if I asked you, do you have a family? Your answer is no. Mother didn't want to make you feel uncomfortable. She would then do follow-up questions and say, Jim, do you have any pets? If the answer is no, she would say, would you like some? So it was all meant to just get you to relax and talk to her. Question number 4, to create great relationships, and I'll ask you the question, Jim, what do you do?
Boaz, I spend a lot of time trying to understand human beings, human potential, and unlocking that potential within that individual, therefore helping people recognize their gifts, and further having a chance to do a little gift giving or a little Santa Claus myself by having folks like you on my program so you can give your gifts away.
Very good. So that was question number 4. Question number 5, Jim, what did you want to be when you were growing up?
Excellent. There was a number of things. I was going to be Batman, Superman, an astronaut, a president, And then I think I was going to be an NFL football player.
So did you become any of those?
Yeah, only at Little League level.
All right. Why did you not pursue it further?
Well, I think that the interesting thing about life as I hopped from lily pad to lily pad is I ultimately found out that perhaps I was fulfilling someone else's expectations or perhaps societal pressure. I had to find a way to get the music in my heart, and that led me to a passion for exercise and developing an exercise equipment business.
Excellent. And so, you see, Jim, the reason Mother would ask you, why didn't you pursue something, is in her very nice way, she might jar your memory to think, well, wait a minute, why can't I still go back to that now? You know, if you would have said, well, I always wanted to take flying lessons, she would say, well, why can't you do that now? So she wasn't meaning to make you feel uncomfortable, she wanted to inspire you. So do you see, Jim, what we've learned about you in a matter of just a couple of minutes with these 5 questions? They are very, very good. So I had a CEO in Portland, Oregon, came to one of my meetings, and the day after that, he gets a call from a CEO of another company that he's been negotiating with on a $5 million deal. She calls, she's going to come over. Clearly, she's coming over to tell him the deal is off. For whatever reason, she's coming over to tell him the deal is off. He figures, oh my gosh, he's been trying so hard on this deal, but what the heck? He learned the 5 questions the day before. At least he can get to know her a little bit. Maybe they can do some business in the future. She comes over to his company. She comes in. He says, Mary, before we talk business, I'm just curious. Where are you from originally? He was genuine. 2 hours later, Jim, she's still talking about herself and her life right before she says, you know, I came here to tell you the deal was off. But after talking with you, I've changed my mind. Let's go ahead. So let me see, Jim. I took basic math in elementary school. 5 questions. $5 million. That's about $1 million a question.
Priceless.
All I can do is report to you. Now, as you were giving me answers, Jim, and I know in your program you want to give people as much as you can, so I want to give you even more. People have got the 5 questions. Now let's talk about the rules of answers. You know, Jim, we get answers from people, and what mistakes have I made in the past? I've jumped to conclusions. I've taken something for granted. I've fallen in love with potential. And many times I've found out I was wrong. Do you ever notice that?
Regularly.
Okay, so what if we could be much more accurate? Would that help us be more successful? I think so. So from my observation in speaking with thousands of people all over the world in the last 28 years, I've created something I call the 4 rules of answers. So everybody please write down the rules of answers. I believe this by itself could be worth more than the price of admission today. So the number 1 rule of answers, Jim, an instant answer with strong words equals yes. I asked you, was it a good move to come to California? You gave me an instant answer with strong words. There's no question, that was a yes. Instant answer, strong words. However, we got to be careful. Rule number 2, an instant answer with weak words equals no. Let's say I asked you, was it a good move to come to California? Yeah, Boaz, it turned out to be okay. That's not a yes. Am I right, Jim?
Correct.
Had you really been straightforward and loved it, you would have said what you said a while ago. Absolutely. So what should I do if I ask someone, does this product of mine seem to meet your needs? Well, yeah, Boaz, it looks like it's going to work out okay. That's not a yes. I should ask more questions. So, Jim, if this particular product of mine doesn't totally meet your needs, do any of my other products meet your needs better? Notice gently with the words. Well, now that you mention it, Boaz, that one over there. Well, fine, Jim, let's go over there. Let's talk about that one. So you see how I get you back on track. So instant answer, strong words, yes. Instant answer, weak words, no. The 3rd rule of answers, a pause usually equals no. Now, I know what some people are saying, Jim, wait a minute, Boaz, you slick-lipped foreigner. There are some deep thinkers in the universe. Yeah, a few, but not too many. Most people can pretty well give you an answer. So a pause usually means ask more questions. Now, these first 3, Jim, can be heard over the phone. Instant answer, strong words, instant answer, weak words, and the pause. Number 4 is when you're in person with someone. Eyes darting away equals no. eyes darting away equals no. Now, Jim, I'm not talking about somebody looking to the upper right or the lower right. They're going back to their memory. Have you ever seen it, Jim, when you're talking to somebody, their eyes just go horizontal for a second?
Yes.
Okay, it means you didn't do that consciously. You came to a point where I said something and you disagreed with me, and subconsciously your eyes could not continue to click on my eyes. What should I do? I should ask more questions. And do it very gently. We got to watch our tone of voice. Gentle. Jim, I'm sorry. Did what I just say upset you? Or do you have a different idea? Maybe you've got a better idea that can save me a lot of grief. So, a subset to point number 4 about the eyes darting away, Jim. If somebody totally looks away from you to give you an answer, it's usually a lie. I cannot face you, I will give you a lie. Now I'm back. The point was, why did they look away at the point of the answer? It means ask more questions. All I'm saying with all of this is slow down. Slow down. If anything doesn't seem right in the body language or the tone or the eyes, ask more questions. And you'll be amazed how accurate these rules of answers are.
Well, you know, I know that perhaps you didn't come from the North Pole, but you are more like Santa Claus today than most of the gift givers I've come across in some point in time, Boaz. And, you know, as I mentioned to you in preparing for the show and thinking about the folks that would be, you know, kind enough to give us their time by tuning in today, most of the folks to learn or listen or develop something from the conversation that I say illustrates a tool or gives them a chance to take an action right after this program so that folks could advance the ball in the game of life in a direction that's meaningful to them, that provides fulfillment, answers their own curiosity about the great game of life, but puts the energy towards the productive things and the positive things in life. If there was one way, and I say one way only because you've given us so many gifts, to sort of encapsulate a message back to this group of folks giving us their time to say, you know, in the great game of life, if you're looking to move forward with relationships, starting a business, playing music, writing a book, becoming a seminar speaker, fulfilling a dream that you had as a child, you know, I'd suggest the following steps would be, you know, a path to pursue to help take you further down the road to opening those gifts. What could you leave us with?
Absolutely. So let's summarize. Everybody on the call, right after the call, should go to my website, boazpower.com, sign up for the free weekly newsletter, and download my daily success formula free. It's called the Tiberius Success Formula, and it is free to be downloaded on my website. I also have a YouTube channel where there are 400 videos that can inspire you. Did I say 400? Oh, yes. Oh, Jim, at no additional charge, I'm going to throw in another bonus here, and that is that how much does it cost to have your own YouTube channel? $0. Can you work with that with me? Okay, $0. And I want you to look really big and really impressive on your YouTube channel. Do some short videos. Educate people. 2 or 3 minute videos. And I want you to look like a network correspondent, like you have your own television network. All it takes is you buying a microphone. This would be a microphone. And then go to a commercial audio place in your city and buy what we call a microphone flag. This is a microphone flag. It's what the network correspondents have on their microphone. So when you put your microphone in it, then you look like a network correspondent for your own television network on the internet. Hello? Did I mention this was $23.95? I think I did. Look on my YouTube channel and you'll see what I'm doing, Jim. YouTube.com, spell it out, youtube.com/Boaz Power TV. BOAZPOWER TV. Boaz Power TV. So, download my success formula. Get the 2 books, How to Win Friends and Think and Grow Rich. Did I mention that? I think I maybe did. The 2 books, see? Okay. Get the 2 books, start doing daily affirmations, and then the key word with which I want to really get everybody ingrained today with, Jim, is when people ask you, how's everything? How's business? One word with enthusiasm, unbelievable. Nobody will know what you're up to, but they'll you. As I'm thinking, they have no clue how bad it is, they have no clue how good it is, but when I do it with enthusiasm, they all think it's great. So when you use the word unbelievable, don't add extra words. Don't say it's unbelievable, just unbelievable. And then I know what you're going to say next, Jim. You're going to say, now, wait a minute, Boaz. Is it really going that good? Here's all I say. All I can say, Jim, it's unbelievable. How's everything with you? Don't explain. Just stick to your word. Stick to your word, and everybody will go away thinking you're doing great and spread good rumors about you, your life, your company, and your future. And by the way, I don't care if you just started a new business 2 minutes ago. Nobody should know that. Don't ever say I'm just starting. I am successful. How's business? Unbelievable. That's how we get people's attitude going in the right direction. And, there's one more thing. Jim, hold on. There's one more thing. Oh, my gosh. I can't believe I almost forgot to give you this. Hold on. I'll be right with you. All right. All right. Here it is. One more thing. No additional charge. Okay. Everybody ought to get this sign. Take a look at this. Make yourself a sign. Every day I play like a champion. A similar sign is in the locker room at Notre Dame. Their sign says, play like a champion today. I chose to rewrite the sign, every day I play like a champion. This happens to be a client company with their logo at the top, so disregard the logo. But make yourself this sign on bright yellow paper, laminate it, and touch it every day. Because here's what happens, Jim, in 1/1000 of a second, every time I see and touch this sign every day. Every day is important. This is an important day. Not a day to slough off. I play. Life's like a game. I can either play it well or not, like a champion. How's a champion play? Great attitude, extra effort, and the whole analysis in 1/1000 of a second as you touch that sign every day. And if you have children, let them see you touching it, and before long, they will be touching it. I've had kids literally improve their grade points by 3 times by just touching that sign over a period of months.
Boaz, you brought out the child in me. And I am so grateful for the gifts that you've given us on this program. Selfishly, I've taken my own notes and have the benefit of being perhaps the first to be able to play this back. For those of you who have tuned in, take advantage of what Boaz has to share. He's given us an enormous amount of gifts, if you will, tools that can be acted upon today. Go to his website, boazpower.com. Take a look at Boaz Power TV. Sign up for his newsletter. And the number of things that you've tossed us, the generosity of your heart, Boaz, is a gift that's going to just keep on giving, because I know that we've lobbed a few starfish back in the ocean today. The ocean's splashing upon the shore there in Pennsylvania. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart sincerely, because you endured cast. This Boaz Grossweiger, thank you so very much.
Jim, it's a pleasure. And by the way, I'm just curious, how is business?
Unbelievable.
I knew that about you. I told them.
Let me tell you, and you asked me about what could have come from your mother. Is that why did I not continue to pursue those Little League baseball dreams? I'll have you know now that when I suit up and play against the 5-year-olds on my son's team, I rock.
All right.
I'm the best on the team. I'm the biggest on the team, but hey, I can hit their curveballs.
Who cares? It's wonderful, Jim. It's been such a delight. I'm honored to have been on this call with you.
Thank you so very much. And for those of you who tuned in, thanks for tuning in to this Thursday edition of Unopened Gifts. Join us again next week, 5 minutes past the hour, 2 o'clock for the next edition. I'm your host, James McPartland, and thank you so very much for tuning in. Boaz, rock 'em tomorrow, my friend. It was good to see you. We'll see you soon.
Always a pleasure, Jim. Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Today's podcast is brought to you by ObesityHotline.com, the silent killer, providing support and encouragement in the prevention of this rising epidemic. Featuring the Body by Vi Challenge. Is there a quick answer to the question? Go to www.obesityhotline.com. You're listening to Real Coaching Radio TV, building a positive network.